So I'm doing my project on traffic jams, which I know sounds a little odd, but ever since I was probably around 9 years old, I'd always ask my mom why does traffic happen? Because we'd just be sitting there for a good 45 minutes, and then all of a sudden we'd move all of a sudden, and I never understood that, and it's actually kind of interesting. So get ready. So everybody knows that accidents and construction and stalled vehicles can cause traffic and just too many people on the road. But one thing that many people don't know is that speed is a major cause of traffic. And here's a video that shows it really well. Yeah. Skip. Ugh, an ad.
Hey, I'm Maria, and I'm always on the move.
Known as traffic. If you're unlucky enough to commute in New York City, equivalent of 3 weeks per year stuck in traffic, drivers know that accidents, construction, stalled vehicles, and just the sheer number of people on the road all contribute to traffic. The real culprit, however, is speed, or rather, sudden, random fluctuations in speed. When drivers travel at a constant rate, traffic flows freely. But when even a single driver hits the brakes, the flow is interrupted, causing a chain reaction among the vehicles behind that driver. Those vehicles must slow down to avoid a collision, and then speed back up to restore the previous flow. If the change in speed isn't too drastic, this leads to what physicists call synchronized flow. A traffic jam occurs when drivers brake abruptly. This causes the vehicles behind them to slow down or even come to a stop. Vehicles enter the back of the jam at a faster rate than the slower moving lead vehicles can accelerate out of it. The result? The traffic jam persists until the volume of incoming vehicles drops low enough to allow the lead vehicles to restore the flow. So what can be done to prevent
Okay, yeah. So I found this video really interesting because I've been driving now, I think, like 3-ish years. And so whenever I go on the freeway, all of a sudden I realize I'm going a lot faster than I want to, and then I kind of slow down rather abruptly. And I'm thinking, what if I've caused like dozens of traffic jams behind me and I never knew it? You know? You should keep that in mind. So, why else does traffic occur besides just speed? And one reason is saturation, that the demand for space on the road is greater than what's available. So 3 main theories that like mathematicians have come up with is the butterfly effect, which is basically a small disturbance, like changing lanes, can cause a huge chain reaction behind it, stalling all the cars behind it, because when you change lanes, people have to stop, and then it just causes people behind it to stop, and it looks like what happened in the video earlier. Another reason would be invisible waves, and this is basically saying that when cars make like a sudden, if they suddenly change to like get off on the freeway or suddenly change lanes, then it can cause a lot of disturbances behind it and cause sort of a ripple effect. And then third is tragedy of the commons. If anybody took apes, you'll remember this, and it also relates to traffic, because basically when there are a lot of cars, because freeways and stuff, you don't have to pay all the time to get on it, then people will use it as much as they can, and then, which causes saturation because the demand is greater than the actual space. So, ways to fix it. I found this first one, raise the price of parking meters, really interesting, because I've read the statistic that in this shopping area called Westwood Village, which is where UCLA is in LA, there are only 470 parking meters, yet each day 8,000 cars park there. So then that means all of those cars are circling around looking for parking spaces every day, and that equates to 950,000 miles of travel each year. And that's just people looking for parking, and so that when they're looking, they're stalled, causing congestion, which then creates a huge problem. And so that's 950,000 miles each year, and 470,000 gallons of gas wasted, and 730 tons of carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere just because they're looking for parking. So what they did in Redwood City, California, is that they raised the parking tolls from just 50 cents to 75 cents, yet they noticed a drastic change where basically the wait time for a parking spot is almost 0 minutes, just by raising it 25 cents. So then Oh, tolls also, which I thought was interesting, but adding toll roads on highways and freeways would then direct truck traffic other places because often driving behind trucks, cars go much slower, or they try and just stay out of that lane completely and go into a different lane. So adding more tolls would make a big difference. And so then other measures would be ramp signals because they prevent the freeway from getting saturated too quickly. And I know another thing, at least in California, whenever the ramp signals are on, that means you know that the freeways are really congested, and so then sometimes people choose not to even go that way and take a different route, so that's helpful. Another measure would be bus lanes, because also buses are unpredictable, and driving behind a bus is the worst thing ever because they stop every 30 feet to drop people off, and I know it's a hassle. So then adding just a completely separate lane for buses could reduce traffic a lot. And this last one I thought was really interesting. I don't know if they have these anywhere because I've never seen one, but a reversible lane. So it'd be on a highway or freeway and a lane that could act as going in either direction depending on the amount of traffic. So lastly, I tried really hard to find a city or a place where there was very little traffic or it was the perfect system. That doesn't exist. I was reading about Vancouver, which is saying how this perfect grid system and how the city is planned. Yet then I read another article how they have some of the worst traffic in North America. So there isn't really a perfect system. But this would be commute times to work, and these cities have the best commute times and those have the worst. In Buffalo, the average commuter only spends around 10 hours each year stuck in traffic, while in Los Angeles it's 64 hours, so there's a drastic difference there. So yeah, I'm done.